Good morning, my brothers and sisters. What does the presence of God feel like? We're going to look to Psalm 32 to get that answer. Here it is. I'll start out with the big bang. When God's hand was heavy upon me. That's what the psalmist David talks about. So this is going to be a primer today about how to be forgiven. It's the greatest life skill that you can learn. It's the most important skill in a family, in a marriage, in a workplace, in a school, on vacation, and specifically here today for an ongoing relationship with a holy God. Now, David here is kind of a genius. He has a PhD, at least an honorary PhD, in forgiveness. And in my humble opinion, this is the heart of David that God features in Acts 13:22. He raised up David to be their king, of whom he testified, I have found in David, the son of Jesse, a man after my heart. You can't have a heart after a holy God without some steps of forgiveness in there. So this characteristic features him more than any other famous human. So you say, in a single word, Elon Musk, richest. How about Usain Bolt? Fastest. How about King David? Most forgiven. So if there is a more important life skill than this, you're going to have to tell me what it is. So if I step back and ask, how can we operate in a relationship with a perfect holy Lord? Forgiveness just has to be part of it. All right, so Psalm 32 starts out, the title of it is, Blessed are the Forgiven. Psalm 32. So let me just introduce the first two lines. So the results of being forgiven. So the psalm starts off really strong. What happens when you're forgiven? Is it a good thing? And this psalm starts strong and it kind of is the end of the process, but it's featured first here in the psalm's first two lines. So yes, there is forgiveness and covering from sins and being counted as okay. All right, verse 1, Psalm 32. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity, and in whose spirit there's no deceit. So that's the good news. The next little stanza is how not to be forgiven. Here's what not to do. So first you got to kind of do this wrong. Knuckleheads and forgiveness, this is the primer for you. It's keep silent. It's going to eat you from the inside. Keep silent. It will never leave you day or night. Keep silent. You're going to feel this hand upon you. Not the helping hand, the heavy hand. It's the, oh no, I got to do something about this. It's this exhausting, debilitating kryptonite of unforgiveness and impaired relationship with the Lord. Here it is, verse 3. For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away. Through my groaning all day long, for day and night, here it is, your hand was heavy upon me. Don't forget that. My strength dried up as by the heat of the summer. So if this is something you do not want, God's heavy hand upon you for this purpose. And then there's this how to be forgiven here. I acknowledge my sin. That sin is sin in the first place. I acknowledge my sin. That sin is primarily done against, that's right, God. Secondly is to people. I acknowledge my sin, that my primary target of forgiveness has to be God. I acknowledge my sin, I uncover it. I acknowledge my sin, I confess it. Here it is, verse 5. I acknowledge my sin to you, and I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgression to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. Okay, so let's go back to the heavy hand of God because it's such a great image. So God's heavy hand is hard. It's also the greatest of graces. You know the line, if today you hear his voice, harden not your heart, and I would going to adopt that today. If today you feel his hand, his heavy hand, harden not your heart. Write this down. The heavy hand of God is the greatest of graces available. So what's worse than the heavy hand of God? If you're under the heavy hand of God, it's not fun, as David expressed. But what's worse? God's indifference, his letting you go, and him leaving you to the compounding consequences of sin. That's worse. If you're in that place, the heavy hand of God is a blessing. So the day when he lays his heavy hand upon you, it will seem unbearable. And that is exactly the point. His heavy hand is a correcting hand. Is that you today? Do you feel it? If so, don't ignore it. Make it right with the Lord. Make it right with the people of the Lord. So the charge then, after you feel the heavy hand, is to yield to it, to entrust to it. And what do you do before you restore this relationship? Well, you might feel pressed on, spiritually pushed in a direction. Now, God never forces repentance, but he certainly encourages it. And this is how he does it. The direction of God, to head you in the direction of towards conviction and confession and repentance, can be spiritually felt. And here is what it feels like. Here is what the presence of God feels like. David tells us in Psalm 32, the presence of God feels like a spiritual hand directionally. It also feels like a heavy hand, a burden hand. You have to be laden with this. It also is an honor. Hey, I might have dodged a bullet here. Wait a minute, I get to have a relationship with God. I get the awareness to start to get out of this mess, this funk that I got myself into. So if you do not occasionally feel the heavy hand of God, my question is whether you're a Christian at all, at least not a growing one. So let's ask for this. Help me feel the heavy hand of the Lord, and then help me yield to it. So in conclusion, what does the presence of God on our planet today, here and now, what does it feel like? It feels, at least sometimes, like a heavy hand upon me. Thanks for listening.